This is a message I received recently following the scandal of a religious figure who messaged a Muslim woman who was a single mother asking if she would be interested in marrying her. It appears to be in a temporary marriage as he was unable to marry a traditional virgin woman. So he wanted to marry her secretly and thereafter marry a virgin woman. So this is a problematic issue, which unfortunately a number of unscrupulous religious men, some of these men do a lot of preaching, they do da'wah work, i.e., calling people to Islam. Some people call them da'wah bros, where they use the religion. Some of them are religious figures, sheikhs, some of them are speakers, where they target religious women, particularly those who are divorced, some single mothers, and also women who are new to Islam, whether they are converts or reverts. So unfortunately, this is a practice which is unfortunately quite widespread in a number of Muslim communities where women are targeted, vulnerable women are targeted, where men marry them oftentimes in secret. They might be married already. They do not publicize the marriage. After they've satisfied their desires, they soon divorce the women and unfortunately leave them in a very traumatic condition. And unfortunately, a number of these women have left the fold of Islam. This is one DM that I received. I just want to read it out to you. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Habib. Thank you for your honorable work. May Allah bless you. If a man is struggling to get married, is it allowed to secretly marry a single mother until he finds a traditional virgin woman that his family accepts? From your research, is this permissible in Islam, as there is a da'i who is being attacked online by feminist sisters for wanting this? The nikah marriage will have two witnesses, so it's valid in fiqh, but he doesn't want to tell his family. What is your opinion on this, brother? Isn't it better for a man to fulfill his desires lawfully than commit zina? So this was a message that I received, and then I responded by saying, Wa alaikum salam, brother. It is immoral. I don't think it's acceptable in Islam, even though some scholars may have said the marriage contract is legally valid. Then the person responded, but if it's halal, what's the issue? Otherwise, single mothers won't get married. It is better to protect ourselves from zina in these times. Then I responded, even at the cost of the woman's well-being and faith. So this is, and then the conversation went a bit further, but I'm not going to share some of the messages. But unfortunately, this is something which is quite prevalent in a number of Muslim communities where people use the religion. Some men use the religion to sleep with women, take advantage of them. And once they've satisfied their desires, they soon thereafter discard them. And this is an example of what I would call fiqh without morality, or fiqh without ethics. Fiqh referring to Islamic law. Because what a number of these men are doing is playing on, you can maybe call it a loophole, a religious loophole. Because if you were to ask a scholar, like a legal scholar, a jurist, someone who is an expert in Islamic law, is it permissible for a man, or is the marriage contract valid if a man were to marry a woman? There's two, male witnesses, but he doesn't maybe publicize it. Now, a number of Muslim scholars may say that the marriage is legally valid because he has fulfilled the marriage contract or conditions of there being two male witnesses. There's a mahar, there's a dowry gift which he accepts. So therefore, it fulfills the conditions of marriage according to many Muslim scholars. However, because there is, you could say, deception involved, and especially if he has the intention of divorcing his wife, if he doesn't say it publicly, but he may have that intention, some Muslim scholars have said that this marriage contract is technically valid, but it's still immoral to do that. So this is where, like I said, because something may appear to be halal from a legal perspective, it doesn't mean that it is morally correct or ethically right to do. So this is again where people need to study their religion and beware of unscrupulous people who lack morals, because there are a number of people outwardly religious who have long beards, who will recite the Qur'an and this, that, and the other, maybe give lectures, but the way they deal with people, especially the way they mistreat women, is something that, again, unfortunately is quite prevalent. And I noticed that myself whilst I was studying, and then when I came back. So I studied in Egypt. I studied at Al Azhar High School and University, where I studied Islamic law, primarily the Maliki fiqh and also comparative fiqh. And then I came across and studied erotology, Islamic erotology. So this is something that, unfortunately, these arguments I'm well aware of, where people will use a religion and they'll follow some cases, you can say, the letter of the law as opposed to the spirit of the law, because I do not believe that Islam advocates this type of behavior. I do not believe the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, advocates this type of behavior. But unfortunately, like I said, some men, and these are a number of religious men who are knowledgeable about the religion and educated, so they will cherry pick certain fatwas, legal opinions, to justify what is known as a misyar marriage as well, where it is a marriage where the woman might forego some of her rights in terms of like maintenance, and then he will use that, and then a lot of these men will target, like I said, single mothers, divorced women, women who have their own houses and things like that, to fulfill their desires in a lawful manner, and then soon thereafter they discard them. But a number of these men, unfortunately, they're not really thinking about the ramification this behavior is causing to the women, not only her psychological state, but also the perception it's going to have from non-Muslims towards Islam. And again, your intention is not to do good. So therefore, how can you think this is, legally or permissible in Islam? So this is unfortunately a problematic issue, which does happen in many Muslim communities, especially amongst so-called religious people, where they will act like this is totally permissible, and a number of Muslim religious leaders will either be silent on it or kind of defend this practice. And it's something that, unfortunately, like I said, I've heard about this and seen this many times, especially by those who preach the faith in public, who call da'wah, who claim to follow the Qur'an and Sunnah, but they're really manipulating the religion, and having these kind of temporary marriages, or having these marriages with the intention of divorce, or until they find their so-called traditional virgin wife. So this is a problematic issue that unfortunately is not really spoken about much, and a lot of non-Muslims wouldn't even behave in this way. But unfortunately, you do find this especially among so-called religious people who actively seek out vulnerable women for their own pleasure, and then once they've satisfied their desires, they will discard them. And the Prophet warned about this. There's a hadith in which the Prophet warned against the tasters. He referred to the tasters amongst men and women, and scholars have said that refers to those who marry and then soon after quickly divorce, and again, like marrying women just to satisfy one's urges and then divorcing them. So again, this is a topic that the Prophet warned about, and it's important that women in particular take heed. Just because someone appears to be very religious and has a big beard and is always acting as if they don't converse with women and they're doing everything above board, one should just again check out for their character more than anything. Not only because they've memorized the Quran, or they're quoting hadith all of the time. Definitely check out their character and the way they treat women, because like I said, you do find some unscrupulous men who are some of the biggest liars and reckless womanizers, and many of those people, unfortunately, are those people within our community who give the impression of being the most religious and God-fearing people. So just wanted to share my thoughts on that matter, and may Allah protect us all.